Aloha mai kako. My name is Nainoa Thompson. I'm very honored and humbled to be a part of this conference, the Hawaii Executive Conference. And I was always very proud that somebody is making good decisions on behalf of the health of communities and families. And so I want to aloha and thank all those that I don't know who made those decisions. That would begin with government, governors, mayors, and legislature, and all those complex issues that had to deal with things that we'd never dealt with before. So we were sailing into the storm and not knowing the way out. But I also want to thank those that I would see, the superintendents of schools, the principals, and having a glimpse and watching the teachers bleeding, but staying in there to change education in 100 days during the summer to make sure our kids are still cared for educationally. I had the privilege to be around and seeing those who live in the back of the ambulances that are face to face with the disease, those that we worked with and were with at the big institutions like Queens Health Systems and Kaiser, and seeing how much they cared. It was from that perspective, and then the recognition, like from the community level, where maybe like just a single example where the Waianae Comprehensive Center will understand. Yes, we'll treat a disease. We need to feed our people. We need to make sure they're educated. And to look at the Hawaiian statistics, every projection would have suggested that that community was going to be primed to have more percentage of sick and dying than the percentage of the population. But that's not what happened. How come? And I just think that Dwayne talks about it. It's about the soul of Hawaii. It's about something special about this community. It's when we're in crisis, we come together for the well-being of more than ourselves. It's something very special in Hawaii. COVID tapped into that. And so I'm assuming and hoping and praying that we have a medical solution, that we will find an end to COVID. I'm assuming that we will fix this economy that's broken. It might take a year, but we will. But I also want to suggest that there are other pandemics out there. And we are focused on things like climate change and globally. But I think what we need to remember is what is the other pandemics that is fracturing humanity on Earth? It's ignorance. It's how little we know about how to heal a planet, how little we know what it is to deal with what really matters in terms of health and education. The other thing about ignorance is that the need for us to really invest in our educational systems, empower the university. The other pandemics that are fracturing us and actually killing us is racism. It's inequality. It's tearing us apart. And then I think about a moment in time. It was 7 years ago, a lunch that happened to have the Dalai Lama there present. I've never met him before. And so just in passing, he would pass by and turn to me and goes, "Hokole is the flashlight. It shines the pathway for humanity to find its way out of the storm." And I've thought about it, and I won't disagree with him ever, but the real flashlight is Hawaii. It's what Dwayne puts his finger on the nerve of the heart and the soul of Hawaii. And in many ways, I think about my great friend, the astronaut. Keiki Aina, Ku'aina, stand on this land, son of Hawaii. And we lost him in 95 to lymphomelanoma. But before his passing, he kept pushing me. I know you don't know how beautiful your island Earth is, but it's only an island and it needs to be healed. And the place is our home, Hawaii, because he was born and raised here. He knows. And he would say that that every issue that the world is facing now, Hawaii can solve. Energy. We have the plan for that. We can do it if we choose. Food sovereignty. And going on. And all these lists he'd come up. But he said, in the end, the reason why Hawaii is different than everybody else is because its culture is still kind. That people will put forward the interests of others more than themselves. He was the message of unity. And so this conference that is emerging, that's talking about fixing an economy, my suggestion is that we focus on the things that will sustain us long term. That investment in education, that focus on looking at a conference that convenes us once a year, but also has the initiatives. What's most important is what we do in between the conferences. And so this change framework is crucial, but ultimately it's going to have to be shifted to a change movement. So I'm looking at the Hawaii Executive Conference with great hope. I'm looking at the Executive Conference and all of you on this Zoom that I can't see who are the leadership behind the next movement, the next renaissance in Hawaii. And I think about that flashlight, and I think about the issue of our culture of kindness. I think about those issues so that I think that they are like, if Hawaii Executive Conference is going to navigate us to that future. On this canoe, we use a star compass. What I think Dwayne is talking about is a star compass of values that navigates our community as a whole. It will take everybody to a solution that is going to be good enough for our children. And I think Hawaii Executive Conference is touching the nerve of the kind of leadership we're going to need, inclusive of everyone, to be able to move Hawaii forward. And therefore, maybe I'm correct that the flashlight is not Hokulea. The flashlight is the Hawaiian Islands in the middle of the sea. And that's when I will end with Lacey saying that Hawaii, he said it in a different way. Hawaii is the beacon, and it can be the best laboratory for living well on islands, and therefore it also can be the best school. So in that the wake of those lessons from him and from the Dalai Lama and many others, it's our time, it's the conference time, but I would just leave you with two things. Don't set the bar low for the future of Hawaii. Set it high. That's going to be driven by imagination. It's going to be driven by innovation. It's going to be driven by courage. Set the bar high and look at things, the world differently with the kuleana that we have duty to the island Earth. Because our lives depend on that success. And I would end, this voyaging canoe, we're trying to evolve like all of leadership in Hawaii has to. Our focus is on the young. I hope leadership is focusing on the young also. Getting them to be part of designing the sail plan, defining the destination, picking the crew, training for success. We're leaving in 44 days for a place called the Doldrums, which was really defined by a place of fear because of storm and because of calm. And we've spent 45 years of voyaging, keeping our young out of the storm. No. Now we're taking it to the storm. We're putting them in the storm so they become the storm. They understand it. So we're able to deal with the pandemics before they come. Investment in young people is the best investment Hawaii can make. Mahalo.